So hey everyone, sure. I mean, can everyone hear me? No?
Use the mic.
All right, so my name is Steve Ban and I'm the founder of Structo. So Structo, if you hit the next slide, Structo is a tool to help developers build web applications faster. I'm a web developer, and for years and years I've been building web applications both in and out of startups and freelancing, and I noticed as I was building things that I was doing a lot of the same stuff over and over and over again. And for my clients, that meant more money for them, that more labor they had to spend on me. And for the startups I've involved in, that meant obviously more developer hours and the longer it took to get a product to market, which nowadays is definitely something you want to reduce as much as possible. So what is Structo? So Structo, if you hit the next slide, it's a database and front-end web service. Now, if you're not a developer, this is probably pretty complex, so let me kind of explain a little bit more in detail about what it is. Hit the next slide. So in a normal web application, there are a lot of things that have to be done every single time. You have to set up the database, you have to figure out how the different things relate to each other. When a user enters in information, what do they type in? How do you make sure that the information they type in is correct? Then how do you retrieve that information? How do you display it? All the stuff that has to be done over and over again with very little change. So Structo actually handles all that for you. Basically we provide a number of tools. We provide a hosted form builder. We provide a cloud database, so we are a cloud service, so it's less infrastructure for developers to actually integrate in their applications. And then we provide APIs for them to actually retrieve the data, all with the goal of actually saving developers the time it takes to build an application. So to the next slide. And so we're a service targeted solely for web developers. So a consumer will never ever see our application. All they would see is the actual application of whoever we're partnering with. And so and their application will just partner with you, will just interact with our APIs and our web server to display everything they want. All with the goal of saving developers time it takes to build an application. So by reducing all it takes to build an application, we save developers a lot of time. And that's exactly our application. That's exactly our value proposition. You get your product to market faster. And so we're currently working on our beta. We're mainly targeting developers, and we're going to be launching within next month.
From a development standpoint, how would you compare Structo to using some of the MVC frameworks like Django or Cake or Ruby on Rails Paradigm? Because those frameworks developed essentially for the same reason. It sounds like you're saying you're the next step. Would that be?
Yes, and to be honest, yes, we're the next step. I mean, I'm a Rails developer and I've been building these applications for years. And yet, there are all these trends to make development faster. What we do is not only do we make development faster, but we also provide a service so that there's less infrastructure for them. So for example, for a Rails application, yeah, it allows you to build an application faster, but you still have to handle hosting yourself, and you still have to handle the infrastructure. So we're a hybrid of that.
So do you find yourself looking at specific sort of vertical markets around software, or I used to work at CNET Networks, and software is a big category. Mm-hmm. And so to tackle it practically in the early stages, do you imagine that you align yourself with certain kinds of application environments and getting good at sort of selling to those people and using? I'm just curious how you want to enter and grow.
Sure. So we're mainly targeted towards web developers because our tool is a service for web development. It can work with others, but we're mainly targeting web developers. That being said, within that market, we're mainly targeting on the smaller side, basically the indie developers, people working on the startups, because they're the ones who can definitely benefit, because they don't have a big team. It's oftentimes just themselves or one or two other people, and so this tool will save them a lot of time, and they don't have to worry about, for example, hiring someone to run the infrastructure for them. So that's kind of mainly what I'm targeting there.
I've got a question. I guess it's really three parts, but it's what is the business model? What determines the fees that clients pay And then what is somebody who's thinking about using this know up front what the total cost is gonna be of that?
Sure, so my plan is to go with a metered usage model. Similar to Amazon Web Services, you only pay for what you actually use, and that will be basically just based on the traffic between our individual application and how much we're storing. That's currently our main plan, with also having a freemium model. So if you're just a small guy just creating little applications just for fun, it won't cost you anything. But it's really targeted towards if your application starts to take off, that's when you have to start paying for it.
So that's based on API calls?
Yeah.
Is there any audience questions? Anybody have any questions in the audience? Oh, there's quite a few. There's one up here. Okay, go ahead, Chris.
What are some example applications that this would be really good for developers?
So this application, example of this application is, well, anything that would take user input. So for example, a classified ads application. If you wanted to build your own classified ads site, you'd have to basically worry about styling the forms and creating the forms and the validation, and then how do you retrieve that information. With Structo, you basically use our service to say, okay, I want to create a new classified ad object. I want to collect this information from the user and allow them to upload these files. And then you just take the form, you embed in the application, and then when you want to go and actually display the information, we provide you a set of rich APIs to pull down whatever it is you need on demand. So you don't have to worry about storing it, you don't have to worry about any of the business logic behind that. That's all handled for you.
There's another question in the back. Any other questions?
I was going to ask you this last night, but I think it's interesting. If you could talk about how you could work with other application platforms, right? The RESTful aspect in terms of working with the services, how that allows you to work with Ruby or Google Code or whatever.
Sure. So the question was that how does our API allow you to work with any other web application? So with our API, we obey a standard called REST. And with the REST API, it's something that any developer who's experienced in web development knows exactly how to integrate with a RESTful API. So right out of the box, they can just plug in an API and start pulling whatever information they need immediately. So, anyone else?